Good morning, and welcome to the June 11th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. So if we will all please stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we want to take a few minutes to look through this stuff? Monica? Do you want a few minutes to look through all this?
I've read up to 90-something comments, so.
Why don't we take maybe 10 minutes just to look at those. So, good morning. We were just delivered this. So if we would like to take a 10-minute break just so that we can look through all this paperwork so that we make sure that we can, give the attention that it deserves before we proceed on. So we will come back. We'll come back at 9:15 and get started on 6A. So if you'll indulge us for a few moments, and we can look at our paperwork. So thank you. All right, thank you. We're back, and thank you for the indulgence of letting us look through all this paperwork. If we only had a few more pieces of paper to look at for these projects, oh my goodness. But it's important that we give the respect and the time to look at the comments that have come in from all the folks that have taken the time to share their input and suggestions. All right, so we had verification of legal notices. Everything was done correctly? Okay. So we still have consent agenda on our agenda. So since we don't have that, maybe we can work on removing that. All right, so we have public input, and this is a time when folks from either Zoom or from folks in the chamber may step forward and share any input about an item not on the agenda. And you have 3 minutes to do that. You state your name, and then you may share whatever you have, whatever topic. So I'll open it up for that public input. Do we have anybody on Zoom who's interested in doing public input at this point? Right. Yeah, jump in. Right. So do we have someone? We have Coraline. Okay, so we want to make sure that this is, what you're going to share with us is not on today's agenda. I can't see, so, okay, all right. Well, you can jump back in when your agenda item comes forward. So anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Margot Kambara. I would like to make a suggestion and request, and it has to do with public comment in Granicus. If a member of the public wishes to make a detailed and thorough comment, Granicus has limitations. You're limited to 10,000 characters, and you can't attach attachments. So I respectfully request that the county look into allowing more latitude or more avenues for the public to share thoughts on these issues that come before you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that there was that limitation. So we'll just direct staff to look into if that avenue can be expanded. Because I do know some of these topics are very complicated, and the input probably takes more than the allotted number of characters. Thank you for that input. All right. Okay, so again, make sure that it's not one of the agenda items. The person still wants to go forward?
Is it working?
Yes, so please state your name and the item that you'd like to, or the comment that you'd like to make.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Angela Emerald. Make a request again. CDD not, right now they put a stipulation of their recommendation for moving forward. And I think that on your items, it should be both motions, a motion to approve and a motion to deny. I feel it's biased that they put a recommendation for approval on these projects before they're heard. Also, to go to Ms. Kambara's comment, she is correct, it is a 10,000 character limit on e-comments. However, I believe you can attach a PDF file, and you can always email it to the clerk of the board, to CDD, and they will attach it as well.
Thank you. Just to let you know, your audio is a little garbled, so if you have comments later in the meeting, maybe we could work on that a little bit. Any other comments? Okay. Any other from the chambers? All right, thank you. We will close public comment. All right, so for our 905 item is consideration of proposed major use permit and mitigated negative declaration for PL 25394 for UP 2416 USCA 7286 North Lakeport. Applicant is Assurance Development T-Mobile to construct a 150-foot tall monopine cell tower with a 10-foot tall lightning rod and ancillary structures located at 5017 Terrace Avenue, Lakeport, APN 029-031-18.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Max Stockton. I'm an Associate Planner with Community Development Department, and yes, I am here to present to you Major Use Permit PL 25394. I just want to bring to your attention this application was originally taken in as Major Use Permit UP 2416, if there was any confusion on that. I would also like to bring to your attention that the consultant is in chambers and would like to say a few things after my presentation.
May I just ask a question before you start? Is this in the city of Lakeport?
This is not within the city. This is in the unincorporated area of Lake County, right by the hospital.
Okay, thank you.
This permit request is by Assurance Development for T-Mobile, and they have submitted an application for this major use permit to authorize the wireless communications equipment on this site to support connectivity along the Highway 29 corridor. The applicant proposes a cell tower designed to look like a monopine pine tree. The vicinity of this project is located in District 4 in the Lakeport planning area, and access to the site is from Terrace Avenue, a county-maintained road. The general plan land use designation is Suburban Residential Reserve, and the full base zoning for the parcel is SRWWW, designating Suburban Reserve Wetland Waterways. The flood zone is X, as it is not specified as a flood zone. The proposed location of the cell tower exceeds all setbacks from the waterways by more than 100 feet to the nearest creek, as discussed in page 32 of the draft mitigated negative declaration. The proposed tower is located on approximately 14.68 acres of vacant land. The property owner has begun installation of new fencing to secure the property boundaries, and the applicant proposes to grade the access road prior to development, including widening the road, importing a base material for driving surfaces, installation of additional culverts as necessary, and maintaining or repairing the existing culvert prior to pouring cement for the cell tower foundation and supporting structures. The proposed project includes approximately 380 cubic yards of ground disturbance, and the applicant is required to adhere to Lake County Municipal Code Chapter 30 grading ordinance when they apply for their grading permit. Under AB 52, notification of the project was sent to local tribes with Aboriginal territory on October 22nd, 2025. Of the notified tribes, 3 tribes responded. Tribal consultation was not requested, and tribal comment is attached as attachment 8 of the staff report. The Lake County General Plan has been reviewed for compliance and supports this project in Chapter 3, Land Use, Chapter 7, Health and Safety, Chapter 8, Noise, and Chapter 11, Water Resources. The Lakeport Area Plan was found to have various objectives and policies in support of this project. The zoning ordinance includes Article 9, Suburban Reserve, Article 27, Uses Permitted, Article 29, Wetland, Article 37, Waterways, Article 71, Regulations regarding the location of communication towers and antennae, which were reviewed in support of this co-location tower. The CEQA public comment period was from April 6th, 2026 through May 14th, 2026. Aspects of interest include the federal limits on local authority, and it states that local governments may apply their zoning codes and design standards, but must do so in a manner consistent with federal requirements, ensuring that wireless services is not unreasonably restricted or prevented. And staff would like to recommend for the environmental portion of this mitigated negative declaration that the commission adopt the initial study mitigated negative declaration for major use permit PL 25394 with the findings of the staff report. And staff would like to recommend the approval of major use permit PL 25394 with the proposed conditions of approval and with the findings within the staff report. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Did the applicant want to come up? You may come up and sit up here on the dais if you like.
Good morning, my name is Nicholas Botan. I represent the applicant. Good morning, my name is Nicholas Foton. I represent the applicant. Thank you, Mr. Stockton, for your presentation. The applicant is proposing a 150-foot tall monopine located at 5017 Terrace Avenue in the Lakeport area, contained within a fenced lease area measuring 40 feet by 40 feet. The tower will be engineered for 3 carriers. It'll consist of 3 sectors of antennas for a total of 12 antennas and 1 microwave dish. And an EME report was submitted into the record demonstrating an exposure of 2.4% of the maximum allowed at ground level. Mr. Stockton, could you please pull up slide number 4? Okay. So what you're seeing on the screen in front of you here is the desired coverage for the proposed facility. Green depicts reliable coverage, and yellow depicts marginal coverage. Could you please go to slide 5? So the slide here on the left, this image is the existing coverage, and as you can see, it's very sparse. There's not enough data aggregation, coverage, or capacity for the existing devices and users in the area. And the image on the right depicts what coverage will be like after the site is on air. This site will also accommodate 3 carriers, so T-Mobile will be the initial carrier, and we anticipate AT&T and Verizon to come onto this tower at a later time. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Just for development for the development stage, preparing the site. We just received some comments from the Redbud Audubon Society about bird nesting surveys to be done prior to construction, which I think is a requirement. There was just a note about osprey nests in the nearby area just to be sure to include those. The survey to see where those nests are located. And also for, I guess, about the actual tower itself, also in one of the comments that we received, it mentioned avian safe lighting. Is that any lights proposed on the tower itself?
There is no lighting proposed at this facility.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a general question. Does the county have any just overall plans for towers going up in the county? In the last 6 or so months, we've had 2 different tower proposals come to us. So I'm just wondering, is there a general overview of that?
Sure. So the Community Development Department Planning Division, does process applications as they're received, and staff is not in control of what's being applied for. However, we bring them forward for hearing when the projects are prepared.
No, and I understand that process, but I'm just thinking, is there an overview of, every, mile and a half is, or there's no plan, we just address them as they come forward?
That is correct. We address land use parcel by parcel and application by application. We don't anticipate multiple applications for parcels to arrive. Rather, we just process them as they come.
So the slide that you showed us, the 2 pink dots were those other towers in the vicinity?
Yes, ma'am. We also submitted an alternative sites analysis into the record, and there are 7 wireless facilities within 5 miles of the proposed facility. Unfortunately, none of those facilities are suitable for co-location. When these towers do get developed in an area, competitors, they all typically have master lease agreements with each other, and they try to co-locate on each other's tower to reduce construction costs and negative impacts to resources in the community, to minimize the intrusiveness of these wireless facilities.
I just have one question for either one of you. But given the location of this particular tower, that it is in a SR zoned parcel and with some residential around it, I just want to confirm that the anti-climb devices or fencing and safety signage will be installed at this site?
Yes, ma'am. We'll be in compliance with all federal requirements for signage. The lease area will be fenced, and the fence will have a lock and an alarm on it. And that alarm will trigger the Network Operations Center to contact law enforcement if there is any type of vandalism or burglary.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I guess my question more is for staff and I guess coming back to the chair's thought is it at some point are we thinking, and thank you for sharing how many towers are within a 5 mile or half a mile radius. It's important to, I think about as the county that we have a plan for how many towers are going to be allowed within a certain distance of the lakeshore. And I don't know how many currently are in the county as a whole. And so I'm interested in that number too, to look at again when we're talking about impacts. Are we looking at cumulative impacts? How is that being addressed by county and staff? And so those are the things I'm curious about as we're looking at these applications, and I feel like there's going to be more to come down the road. So just a thought for as we move forward.
Commissioners, the only policies I'm aware of that kind of govern cell tower development are in the general plan. And of course, this project is looked at to be in compliance with that. And currently in the general plan that's being drafted, most policies in there are pro cell phone tower development due to the need for emergency services, increased capacity for emergency services. So, and this is a critical, area near the hospital that has the, needs to be addressed, and we have mostly support from emergency services personnel for cell tower development.
And if I may, would you mind going to slide number 2, please? I got here the night before, and I've been up here. I'm looking at locations to place these towers in service area gaps, and I scout areas to look for service area gaps, and that's where we decide to put these towers at. The service in this area, in my opinion, is not good. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it needs serious improvement. This project proposes a facility that will accommodate at least 3 carriers, and for the height that is requested here today, there's potentially even more. Your community is going to receive enhanced 911 service, enhanced data service, and if you look here, the first, slide 3. First bullet point here, there's a study that's been published. Wireless data the demand for wireless data is expected to grow 20% year over year until 2028. And this community really needs this facility and enhanced service.
And if I recall correctly, that when a new cell tower is being installed, it is a requirement or a strong encouragement that co-location is preferred with the tower. Yes, thank you. I got nods from county staff.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Also, if I may, I'd like to respond to Chair Chavez. Yes, condition D1 does address bird nesting and does require a pre-construction survey for this project.
Madam Chair, if I may, just to clarify your earlier question regarding density, the county is preempted in a number of ways at the federal level and the state level from regulating co-locations and new cell towers. New cell towers, we do have a little bit more flexibility as far as aesthetics and safety of placement, but generally speaking, and if your commission would like more information on this, you can certainly give staff direction on that and how it relates to this project. But generally speaking, we are prevented from restricting new cell towers based on the general density of other cell towers. So if a provider has a gap in their service, it doesn't matter if there are other providers who have towers in that area. We do need to consider their placement of a new location to fill the gap in their own service. We are required to do that. The difference between co-location and new towers, we do have more flexibility with new towers, which is what this is, and less flexibility for co-locations, excuse me. But that means that co-locations are generally considered first simply because they are cheaper and the local municipality has less regulatory authority over them, and therefore they're easier to install. So just as to the other question, excuse me.
So as a planning commission, can we, and this is go beyond your particular project, just in general, can we request, if a carrier comes to us, to request that group work on co-location? I think at least my point was, and I think Commissioner Brown was, we want to be thoughtful about where they are, the amount of them, acknowledging that, cell service and all this technology is only going to increase, but we want to do it thoughtfully. And so that, and they certainly look better when they sort of look like fake trees. I have one at the end of my road that looks like a water tank, which is acceptable, but just to be thoughtful in, so that they're not just, they just don't litter the countryside.
Right,
I think that's what we're asking for.
yes. However, the municipality is limited on, on site, on requiring certain siting for specific projects, and if the provider, you can certainly ask, as you have, whether or not they've considered co-location, but if a provider has identified a hole in their services, and they have identified a particular method in which to fill that hole, you can certainly ask me to research in relation to this particular project, or just generally come back with an answer as to whether or not you can require co-location over a new tower, or specific evidence related to why one is better over the other. But I think we're limited on restricting based on the sort of general density of towers in a community.
Okay. It will just, that's a conversation we probably should not be having now in depth. Let's focus back on the request in front of us.
Commissioner Zoller, may I please? That was one of the requirements of this. Per the ordinance, I was required to request an examination of other towers in the area, and that is what the consultant was bringing up, is that study was done for this, and it did find that the surrounding towers, the two in pink that you were referencing earlier, were not substantiated for this location. And so the applicant, consultant, did provide that to our office. It was evaluated. We did review those elements to determine that they are correct, that there is no coverage for this area, and therefore we proceeded to continue and research this project as it was proposed.
Right. And thank you. And the before and after was very illuminating. I think that a conversation at another time would be helpful for us.
And if your commission would like to take a look, Article 71 in the zoning ordinance addresses cell towers and antennas and their sort of planning requirements. If you wanted to take a look at that and recommend changes to the board, that's certainly something we can put on the agenda for another day.
And you're speaking of Article 71 in the zoning ordinance,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. We'll put that on our agenda for another time. Let's bring us back to this particular project. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a final question is we did get a letter or a comment here about just in assuring that the tower will be aesthetically pleasing again in its location. Yes?
Yes, and I did contact that member of the public, and I did let him know that, as he had mentioned in his comment, he requested the first image of there as he had researched the 3 different types of trees. And I did let him know that that is the type of tree that is proposed, the long, slender, pine tree looking tree in this situation.
I think redwoods would be a better choice.
If the commissioners would like slides 8 through 11 or photo simulations of what the area will look like with the tower, would you commissioners like to see that?
Yes. Yes, please.
I believe it starts on slide 8. So the image from left to right, the first image at the top left is where the photo was taken and where the tower will be located. And then directly below that is the existing environment or landscape, and just to the right of that is the proposed. And there's a lot of natural screening in this area with vegetation and terrain. So if you guys wouldn't mind cycling through the slides. Any questions regarding the aesthetics?
No? And Madam Chair, we haven't opened this up to public comment yet.
We have not.
Oh, goodness, okay.
All right, so are there any other questions for the applicant or the staff? Okay, so now I'd like to open a public comment on this particular topic. If anyone in the chambers or on Zoom would like to comment, chamber, you can come up and state your name and have 3 minutes. Is there anyone on Zoom? Okay, please state your name and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Nord Imbroden, and my concern is that we haven't actually seen a representative picture of this particular tower that's going in. And I sent in some photographs of what a monopine tower, called a monopine tower, can be, and there's certainly a wide range of towers that would be unacceptable. And there's some that would be acceptable. It screens the antennas, and then also comes down with a more natural look of a tree. All of them appear to be imitation, but there's certainly much better ones out there that come down and have this natural look as a tree. I live on the lake here, just a fairly short distance from the location of the hospital and the tower. And my concern is that we don't put a tower in. I'm just requesting that there's an actual photograph of a similar tower or exact tower that is they have put in, and that this is what is going to go in, and that the commission gets a chance to actually see the actual tower rather than the drawing. The drawing itself that is shown has a 60-foot opening underneath it. The approximate, the picture that I sent in, which I would hope would be similar to what would be put in, has a 40-foot opening. So the branches come down, and the branches, instead of being all angled up, which is an unnatural look for a tree, a pine tree, the lower branches actually angle down. So it has and are longer. So it has a more natural look. And my suggestion would be that they agree to do the best to provide a tree that is actually looks more natural than what their drawing is showing, with a 60-foot opening and branches that all are the same length for about 2/3 of the tree.
Oh, thank you. And we have a copy of what you sent in.
Yeah, that's great. So you can see the one. You can see the examples of the ones that are pretty unacceptable. Plus the one that's a tower in Florida that I got a picture of, and that would blend in. We have to understand that this tower is going to be at least twice as tall or 3 times as tall as any foliage around it. It's 150 foot tall, so it will look quite different. It's nice that it is set back and has some foliage in front, but there will be places where this tower, you'll be able to see it towering over everything else that we have as natural foliage in the area. And so I just would like it to be as aesthetically pleasing as possible. And I don't think it adds, a lot to the cost of the project, but if the developer here would be able to agree that they will have something along the lines of the photograph that I sent, I think that would be the best for our community. We have a beautiful rural community, and I know we need cell towers, and I know we need to be able to communicate, but we should do the best job we can do at this time.
Thank you. Have you seen?
I have materials here.
Oh,
to that
you did
effect,
see
but
this?
yeah,
Okay.
I understand what he's asking for. I chose the property where we're locating the facility, and I looked at all of the other properties personally. I believe there were about 28, but we largely deemed the majority of them infeasible, either for zoning or coverage or engineering requirements. As to the gentleman's comment about having a 60-foot, starting branching at a 60-foot AGL, in my opinion, the facility set back far enough into the property, and it's concealed from the street by existing trees. No person at ground level would be able to see at the elevation of where the branching would actually start. So they would not be able to observe a bare pole from the street.
Commissioners, if I may. Page 33 of your site plan packet does show this tree exactly, and the tree is 60 feet from the base, but it matches the design there in your packet from the public.
So it will look more like this than this?
There you go.
I mean, this is what we're seeing. This is different in the look. So I'm just asking, clarity on what you're telling me here.
Sure. The difference in the two images, the one in the green paperwork is from the public comment.
Right.
And there are all sorts of considerations that get taken into concealment. We believe that the concealment that's proposed in this project is sufficient to conceal the facility to the effect where a empty or blank pole could not be observed from the public right-of-way, because the facility is set back far enough into the parcel and it's concealed by existing trees.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Oh, one more public comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'd like to commend you, Madam Chair and Commissioner Brown, for your foresight and interest in a strategic plan calling for cell tower placement. And it seems that your interest can be addressed in our local area plans, which are being revised, I hope, as we speak. So while it might not be legally binding, that's one way for the community to express its interest and priorities on what it expects in terms of development, including what happens with cell towers. So I do look forward to seeing this as a separate agenda item in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment from the chambers? Anyone else on Zoom? All right, with that, then we'll close public comment, bring it back to the commission. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion
All right,
in light of our District 4 Commissioner is absent today.
thank you.
So based on the analysis provided herein and in the IS/MND, staff finds the project consistent with all applicable codes and requirements. As such, staff recommends approval of the initial study and project. Sample motions are provided below. Oh, sorry. I can just go directly to the motion, sorry. I move that the Planning Commission find that the potential impacts associated with this project, PL-25-394 for UP 24-16, supplied for by Assurance Development, T-Mobile, can be mitigated to less than significant through the implementation of the mitigated negative declaration for the property located at 5017 Terrence Avenue, Lakeport, APN 029-031-18, will not have a significant effect on the environment, and that the Planning Commission adopt initial study PL-25-394 for UP 24-16 as amended with the findings listed in the staff report dated June 11th, 2026.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move that the Planning Commission find that the major use permit PL-25-394 for UP 24-16 applied for by Assurance Development, T-Mobile, for the property located at 5017 Terrace Avenue, Lakeport, APN 029-031-18 does meet the requirements of the Lake County Zoning Ordinance, Article 27 and Article 71, and that the major use permit be granted based on the findings listed in the staff report and subject to conditions of approval dated June 11th, 2026.
I second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Closing statement.
All right.
Note.
Here's the note. The applicant or any interested person is reminded that the zoning ordinance provides for a 7-calendar-day appeal period. If there is a disagreement with the Planning Commission, an appeal to the Board of Supervisors may be filed. The appropriate forms and applicable fee must be submitted prior to the 5 p.m. on or before the 7th day following the Planning Commission's decision on this matter. Thank you. Okay. Take a moment to change here and we'll move on to our next item. We ready? Consideration of proposed major use permit PL-26-115 UP 21-17 Ziegler Springs North LLC Forest LA and the mitigated negative declaration PL-26-115 IS 21-18 for approval of no more than 130,680 square feet of commercial cannabis cultivation and a type 13 distribution, self-transportation license located at 11615 and 11625 Ziegler Springs North Road, Kelseyville, APN 115-007-03 and 115-007-06.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Trish Turner. I'm an Associate Planner with the Community Development Department of Lake County. And today for consideration, it's PL 26-115 Ziegler Springs North. The applicant and project consultant are present in chambers. The consultant has prepared a brief presentation to present after staff. The major use permit was applied for on April 21st, 2021. The project was presented to the Planning Commission on October 26, 2023, and then was continued. At that time, the Commission requested more information regarding tree removal, the grading plans, and concern with tribal cultural resources. In 2024, the applicant for the project changed, and the scope of the project was reduced from 4 acres to 3 acres. The conditions of approval have been amended to add 2 additional conditions regarding the use of North Ziegler Springs Road and regarding the no development zone on the project parcel. And the commission has been provided with a copy of those redlined conditions. The permit request. The project proposes a major use permit for 3 acres or 130,680 square feet of outdoor commercial cannabis canopy and one type 13 distribution self-transport only license. The parcel sizes combined are approximately 84.55 acres. The site is located approximately 4.35 miles southwest of the Lower Lake Community Growth Boundary, and it is located within the Cobb Mountain Planning Area and within Supervisor District 5. The base zoning. The project's base zoning district is Timberland Preserve District, and it is the general plan designation is resource conservation. The surrounding land uses include rural residential dwellings, agricultural uses, and cannabis uses. Oh. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. The project properties are located in a rural area surrounded by hilly topography with oak, woodland, and brush vegetation. The cultivation areas are on a relatively flat portion of the site due to the rural nature of the site and because it is visually protected by the natural topography and surrounding vegetation. The cultivation activities would not be visible from public roads. Existing uses. There is one permitted groundwater irrigation well, one locking access gate, and interior roadway improvements. Project scope. 3 acres or 130,680 square feet of outdoor commercial cannabis canopy, one ADA compliant restroom, one 15-foot by 15-foot trash enclosure, 2 8-feet by 40-feet shipping containers, one 40-foot by 20-foot composting area, 6 5,000-gallon water storage tanks for cultivation operations, and one 5,000-gallon fire suppression tank equipped with a 2.5-inch fire department coupling. The project was analyzed under the Lake County General Plan, the Cobb Mountain Area Plan, the Lake County Zoning Ordinance, the 2024 CEQA Guidelines, and state regulations, with the findings found in the staff report. All impacts to the environment could be mitigated to less than significant with mitigation measures incorporated into the project's condition of approval, Attachment 3, and outlined in the draft mitigated negative declaration, Attachment 5. Public comment period occurred for the draft ISMND from January 26, 2024 to February 25, 2024. AB 52 Tribal Notification. After the Planning Commission hearing held on October 26, 2023, there were some concerns voiced regarding tribal artifacts. A second AB 52 notice was sent out on January 26, 2024, to allow local tribes the opportunity to provide feedback. The notice went to tribes with Aboriginal territory in and around Lake County. Of the notified tribes, Middletown Rancheria responded. The Tribal Historic Preservation Officer conducted a site visit. At that time, there was evidence of tribal cultural resources within the vicinity. To ensure the protection of these resources, mitigation measures for the tribal cultural resources have been incorporated into the ISMND, Attachment 5, and the conditions of approval with Attachment 3. Points of interest, water usage. The applicant submitted a hydrology report and a drought management plan, Attachment 6, to the staff report. Cultivation will be supported by one on-site permitted irrigation well, and based on the analysis, there is an annual total water usage of 4.9 acre-feet per year. The hydrogeologist determined the annual recharge rate is 26.3 acre-feet a year. Thus, there is sufficient recharge to meet the project's demand and would not result in overdraft conditions. Tree removal and dead and dying trees. The project proposes tree removal and an oak mitigation plan, Attachment 8, for replanting of oak trees. The oak mitigation plan proposes removal of 76 mature and healthy black oak trees and the removal of several dead and dying trees that were damaged in the Valley Fire in 2015. The applicant proposes to plant 228 trees that will be maintained for 7 years. Points of interest, the no development zone. The applicant proposes a no development zone to preserve existing oak woodlands and waterways outside of the project area. The applicant and consultant can provide further information for the no development zone following staff's presentation. And this is also one of the conditions that were added into the red line conditions that were provided to the commissioners. Approved projects within 3 miles. In the staff report, it goes into detail on the sizes of those approved projects. There are 11 approved projects within 3 miles of this project as listed in the staff report on pages 11 and 12. And as you can see on the screen here, the little yellow rectangle is the proposed project location, and the stars that are blue outlined in white are the locations of the existing approved cannabis cultivation projects.
And there are 3 pending?
Yes.
Thank you.
Recommendations. Staff recommends the environmental to adopt mitigated negative declaration initial study IS 21-18 for use permit PL-26-115 or UP 21-17 with findings listed in the staff report. And to approve major use permit PL-26-115 or UP 21-17 with the proposed conditions of approval as amended in today's and with the findings listed in the staff report. And I'm available for any questions and comments.
Questions from the commission of staff?
I'll save my questions for after public comment.
Okay.
I have one question for staff in regard to the redlined initial study. It indicated that there were also 22 40 by 100 temporary hoop houses.
And those would be the ag exempt temporary hoop houses that are allowed under ordinance 3132. They're ministerial after approval and allowed with the temporary building permit.
Right, okay, thank you.
What's going to be the tie-down situation on those hoop houses?
Yes.
That was a question.
So all hoop houses, excuse me, Commissioners, Mary Claiborne, Senior Planner, all hoop houses are required to be anchored to the ground at the corners at least 24 inches.
Thank you.
So, and then I had another question, just for clarification. On the initial study, it indicated very high risk fire area, and the staff reports states very high and moderate fire zones. And I was just wondering what was the division on the property in regard to the very high and moderate?
I can look that up for you.
And then also, if not to overburden you with too many things all at once, but if you could, just for the sake of those listening, and also for clarification for us here as the planning commissioners, can you explain the TBZ B3 special lot size?
Yeah, so that is a very it's a very confusing, but it's a zoning designation that is on the property. And those are density restrictions applied to certain properties. And in this case, special lot size and density combining district is that there are certain areas on the sectional district map, which is our APN books, that have B3, B4, B5, and B frozen designation. And with this one, it is designated at 80 acres. So that just means that this parcel cannot be split up any smaller than 80 acres, but they're individually not 80 acres. So if they wanted to split them, they would not be able to.
Because they are two parcels of about 40 each
Correct.
right now, okay?
Can you give me a little more information on the resource conservation and the allowance of this kind of project?
Yeah, because it's timberland preserve.
So, Commissioners, resource conservation is a general plan land use designation that the Timberland Preserve is a designation that is consistent with the general plan use. Article 27, uses generally permitted, allows cannabis cultivation in TPZ, Timberland Preserve zoning, with a major or minor use permit. So the activities that are being proposed today are an allowable use with a discretionary permit that is approved by a hearing body, this determination body or the Board of Supervisors.
Can you give me a little more clarification on Timberland Preserve, please?
We're just pulling that up. One moment.
Thank you.
All right, I've got it. Michelle Iris, Senior Planner, by the way. Good morning. So Article 6 is Timberland Preserve, or TPZ, and the purpose is to provide for Timberland Preserve zoning and the conservation and protection of land capable of producing timber or forest products. And then it also specifies other uses that have been determined to be compatible with those uses. And those include a number of things. Let me get to them. Management of lands, removal of timber, single-family dwellings, agricultural and residential accessory structures, crop and livestock farming, prospecting, claiming, or geophysical investigations, game preserves, management practices such for watershed or fish or wildlife. Those are all allowed by right. And then for use permits, there's things such as equipment, storage yards, incidental to the growing and harvesting of those ag products or TPZ activities, as well as private fishing and hunting clubs, commercial wood yards, dairies, kind of a mixture of uses here with a major use permit, sawmills, retreats, public and private campgrounds, etc. And then, as noted, also cannabis in this case.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions for staff in regard to the tree mitigation measures and the removal of the trees. In Article 27, it states that the tree removal should be avoided and minimized when developing cannabis cultivation sites. So with the oak mitigation plan that is proposed, what is the follow-up from the county's perspective to make sure that these oak trees are indeed taken care of for 7 years, and we have oak trees after 7 years?
That is a great question. The follow-up would be us doing our annual inspections and ensuring that the trees are being properly maintained and things like that, and that they're following their oak mitigation plan.
Mm-hmm.
I can add to that as well. On page 5 of the oak mitigation plan, it also describes a monitoring plan and annual reports being submitted by Jacob Zune and Associates, who is the consultant that prepared that. So that would come to the county as well annually.
Commissioner Rosenthal?
Yes.
I would also like to answer your question about the fire designation on site.
Thank you.
The original initial study was circulated in 2023. However, on April 1st, 2024, CAL FIRE updated their maps to reflect that this site is located within the state responsibility area. Geographic center is located in a very high fire severity zone. And again, that was effective as April 1, 2024.
Okay, so that explains the difference descriptions in regard to the fire risk. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, then I will open public comment. So,
The
the
applicant.
applicant, yeah,
Yes.
forgot to invite you up. Yeah, please. So do you have anything to add to the staff report that you'd like us to hear? Oh, his presentation? Brief presentation.
Yes, ma'am. I would have a brief presentation. I won't, sorry, my name is Trey Sherrill. I'm a consultant representing the applicant. I won't be going over the merits of the project because I didn't want to duplicate anything that's in the staff presentation, but if you have any questions, I'm available to answer them, as well as the hydrologist that worked on this project is in the Zoom room as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have some questions that I'll save for after public comment because I'm sure they'll come up in the public as well, and the hydrologist might have an answer for that. So I want first for the comments to be addressed by the public, and then, or that's why I'm saving my questions for the end.
So the applicant, the current applicant is Forrest Nicola Ellie. If we could just go on to the next slide, please. I want to just bring a little context. As Trish said, this application first went before the Planning Commission back in 2023. At that time, the applicant was the landowner, and there was a lot of concerns brought up largely by the nearby Adidam religious community. And so the application was continued to a date uncertain, and now we're bringing it back. In the period of time that has gone by, the landowner tried to, this is what he told me, I don't know this firsthand, I was not on the project at that time, but the landowner has indicated that he tried to sell the property to the Adidam religious community, and not even for what he paid for the property, but just what he owed on it. But they could not come to an agreement at that time. And so therefore he found someone else willing to move forward with the application and purchase the property should this permit be issued, and that is the current applicant, Mr. Forrest Ellie. And then since the last hearing, Forrest has met with many members of the Adidam religious community as well as other neighbors to better understand their concerns. And we have altered the proposed project to minimize and mitigate any potential impacts to residents and visitors of the surrounding area. And that's largely the response. That's what's responsible for the changes that have occurred since 2023 to today in the proposed project. Next slide, please. So of those concerns that were brought, there were 5 general themes, the first being water use and drought management. So we have, first and foremost, we reduced the proposed canopy from 4 acres to 3 acres. Increased water storage, which will allow for shorter durations of pumping on the well, as well as less pumping during the peak water use periods. And then also the growing medium, they originally, which I'll discuss on another slide, originally the plan was to grade the site flat and then grow in pots on top of the flat surface with those hoop house structures. However, Mr. Forrest no longer wants to go in that direction. We're not going to grade it flat. He wants to use native soil, build organic material, and implement regenerative agricultural practices. And then I think the biggest thing is the drought management plan that we've presented. It reduces canopy from 2.5 acres during periods of severe drought or 2 acres of canopy in extreme or exceptional drought. And there's a mechanism in the drought management plan that we will use. Next slide, please. It's the U.S. Drought Monitor, USDA California Climate Hub drought maps, and so this is the first drought monitor map of June of this year. So this would be the map used per the drought management plan. So the first drought monitor map to come out, and the first one to come out in June would determine if the site is under severe drought or extreme drought conditions. If it's under severe drought conditions, it's not right now. Right now, in this map, it's under the elevated drought conditions, but not severe or extreme. And so, if the site was in the orange, red, or dark red here, if it was in the orange, we would have to cut back to 2.5 acres from allowable on this project. And if it was in the red or dark red, it would be cut back to 2 acres. And that is determined by the first drought monitor map that comes out in June of each year. Next slide, please. So another concern was water, soil, and air pollution. And as I previously discussed, we're no longer grading the site flat. So overall, grading has been reduced from approximately 25,000 cubic yards to less than 500. The remaining grading that will be necessary is just for stump removal of these dead trees and some of the other trees that will be removed, as well as for a pad for the storage containers and for parking spaces and the water tanks. As previously mentioned, Forest plans to implement regenerative agricultural practices. What that means is the intent is to build organic material in the soil for water retention, for plant health, and it also removes carbon from the atmosphere as a result. It would do this using a nitrogen-fixing cover crop planted in the fall and then immediately after harvest each year. Then he plans to use goats to come in and consume that cover crop, and then also they will be used on the surrounding area to kind of keep down some of the hazardous fuels of the property. They'll also use beneficial plants and insects to control pests, and so that the use of pesticides is minimized to the extent possible. We have generous setbacks from the proposed cultivation area and the only on-site water course, which is the headwaters of Sigler Canyon Creek. But as previously mentioned, we'll have the nitrogen during the winter period when rain and erosion could occur. There would be a nitrogen-fixing cover crop, as well as mulch and ground cover, and then fiber rolls around the disturbed area. And there's the 20-acre no development zone, and that's partially to protect Sigler Canyon Creek, and it's also partially to provide a buffer, an extra buffer between the cultivation site and the nearby Abidam, nearby Mountain of Attention property. And this was the proposed. This is the proposed condition of approval pertaining to the 20-acre no development zone.
And is there a map that depicts where that 20-acre no development zone is?
Yes, ma'am. There was one map that Trish showed that if we go to the next slide. So I didn't. Once again, I was trying my best not to duplicate. Next slide, please. Try not to duplicate anything and be as concise as possible. So this is a more zoomed out. The map that Trish presented, it was of the property itself. This is a little bit more zoomed out. The light green. Oh no. The light green is not showing up on this. So it would be the southern quarter of the property all the way across. There's an arrow pointing there, and there should be a light green space there. And so the dark green is the project site. The black rectangle is the project property, and the red polygon is the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary property. And then the approximate location of the meditation and retreat center that is located on the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary property.
So the zone is at the, say again, it's at the bottom of that rectangle, inclusive of the stream?
Yes, ma'am. It would completely, all of the stream would be within the the 20-acre no development zone. There, I should stipulate that there is an existing 25-foot wide easement that we can't infringe upon because that easement is used to access another property. And then there's also a very small portion of, there's a PG&E tower line that goes across this property as well, and a small portion of that would be within there. So the rectangle that the 20-acre no development zone would cover is actually going to be slightly larger than 20 acres to make up for what is lost to those existing easements that transect this area. But once again, the goal of the no development zone mainly to provide extra protection for Secret Canyon Creek, and also a buffer between the operation and the nearby community, or meditation retreat center. And then one of the things, and this also is off both the location where the name meditation retreat center, it's supposed to be a little bit to the left and down, and this arrow is supposed to go to that to show that the general location of the meditation retreat center is over 4,000 feet from the project location, but it's off in this projection here. Next slide, please. Another thing, and this was one of those conditions of approval we've requested, is to, Forest has taken very seriously the concerns raised by the community, and I think one of the biggest ones is that this project would be disruptive, particularly to the meditation retreat center, which is obvious. You would want a very calm and quiet experience there. And so what we proposed is that no traffic associated with this operation should ever travel past that, except only in the case of an emergency. And so what this would do is the red line would show the path of travel, basically from the Kelseyville area. And it would pass by the Pasta Farms, which I think that's the next item on this. It would pass through there. It would come down, and then there's like a symbol to represent a stop sign, and then you would turn onto the property. That green rectangle there is the general location of the no development zone shown here, and then the yellow is the location of the project. And the red line shows the path of travel from basically the Kelseyville area. And this is a requested condition of approval. Next slide, please. Other concerns raised around were visibility and lighting and noises from the project. As you can see in the image here, so this is that same image from the last slide, but now we've come down to like ground level. The meditation retreat center is in the foreground. The property is in the background. The red line, the no development zone is the green, and the red line is the path of travel that you would use to get to this site. As you can see, the project site is situated on a natural bench at the top of a hill and is not visible from North Stigler Springs Road or the nearby meditation retreat center. The proposed project is outdoor cultivation. Therefore, the only lights on site will be motion activated security lights. As far as sources of noise, tractor, weed eaters, standard farm vehicles and equipment consistent with other agricultural operations in the area and land management operations are. And then all electricity will come from individual solar panels and a small ground or trailer mounted solar array. That ground or trailer mounted solar array will be used to pump the well, while as all other electricity used on the site will come from individual solar panels and batteries. Any questions about this image?
So the red dot is where the project is?
No, you can't see the project site in this image because we're tilted. There's a small ridge.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The red line, so there's the arrow, and then you see the red line below that. That's the road leading up to the project site.
Okay.
And then the green is that no development zone, and then the red stop sign looking, the red octagon is that's where no traffic should be traveling down that road.
Thank you.
Can you repeat just a little bit about the electricity? So is there power on the property? Is there a PG&E pole or?
So PG&E power, there's no development on the property as of right now, so there's no power drop. There is a PG&E tower line that passes across the property. No, you can't really see it in this image. Actually, if we go to the previous slide, real quick. Yeah, can you make out the diagonal cut through? That's the PG&E power line that goes through the property there.
The fellow commissioner here has a great screenshot.
Yeah. We're not sure. Eventually, PG&E, shore power or PG&E power would be obtained, but the operation has been designed so that it will not need that. Forest has expressed an interest in also building a residence on this property at a future time, and at that time is when PG&E would be brought onto the property. Next slide, please, or actually two. Okay. One of the things that stuck out to me is that there was general concern about armed guards and dogs and things of that nature, and just expressed during the last hearing. Just want to make sure very clear: no armed guards, no vicious dogs. This is this is a farming operation. The project includes standard security protocols appropriate for a licensed and permitted agricultural operation. The site will include appropriate fencing and access control to limit authorized entry and protect the operation and surrounding properties. But that access control will be up at the top of the hill. It's not going to be down near any other property or where the general public would see it. And then as far as community impact, the applicant has been a member of the ranching and agricultural communities of Lake County for decades and is committed to being a responsible neighbor with transparent operations and cooperation with local law enforcement as necessary. And then next slide, please. The final issue of concern is fire hazards and hazardous vegetation. Since the Valley Fire, the area has experienced substantial regrowth. The property has experienced substantial regrowth of hazardous vegetation, and dead trees block the access road each year. They just fall across it because they're dead, and then they blow down during the winter. The project includes on-site improvements for first responders to use in a wildfire emergency, such as water storage and fire equipment connections, and the applicant will graze the property with goats each spring to remove ladder fuels. Approval of the use permit will ensure the removal of hazardous vegetation and other fire hazards in accordance with state and local guidelines and regulations, which will be, I believe, a benefit to the general area here to have, a responsible land manager who is, managing the land in preparation for the inevitable wildfire that will one day come through here. Last slide, please. And so thank you for your time and consideration. We hope that you can see how the applicant has seriously considered the concerns raised by neighbors and neighboring land users, and as a result has altered the proposed project to minimize and mitigate any potential impacts to the residents and visitors of the surrounding area. Forest is and will be a good neighbor, farmer, rancher, and land steward. That concludes my presentation, but the applicant does, the applicant does just want to have a brief thing to say about himself and his experience here. And then, but I also want to make myself available if you have any questions following my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions before we open public comment?
No, just a comment that I can understand where the fear of dangerous environment, kind of comes from, because there were a couple different grows, and I don't know if they were legal or illegal, but along Big Canyon there that had towers and were pretty damn intimidating. So just driving by and so in that surrounding area, there has been that really intimidating force has been seen and felt.
I don't deny that historically both licensed and unlicensed, particularly unlicensed cannabis farms have had, dangerous elements to them, or definitely intimidating elements to them, and they were intentional then. But the industry as a whole has evolved, and it's really also it's a kind of a factor of economics. There's no one's trying to come in and steal your products like they used to. It's not really worth it. And so the industry has evolved to it's more agricultural in nature as opposed to the way it used to be.
Other questions? I'll open public comment then. All right, I'd like to open public comment to the folks in the chambers and on Zoom. Please step forward. You have, state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, Planning Commission, Forrest Nicola Ellie. I'd like to read a brief letter. My name is Forrest Nicola Ellie. In 2001, as a young teenager, I spent 4th of July on Clear Lake. For the first time, looking across the lake, mountains, and rolling hills, I was inspired by the beauty and agricultural heritage of Lake County. I never imagined that one day I would own property here, build farms here, and invest in my future in this community. For more than 20 years, I've farmed cannabis and built farms throughout Northern California. Along the way, Lake County became more than a place I visited, it became home. I was raised off-grid on solar power, which taught me the importance of conservation, self-sufficiency, and stewardship of the land. Those values continue to guide me today as part of my farming operation. I plan to incorporate solar-powered well pump system that uses sun to help power irrigation, reduce energy consumption, and supporting sustainable agriculture. What I want you to know is that you are working with a farmer who genuinely cares about this community and its residents and its future. I believe in being a good neighbor. I support local businesses and local workers whenever possible. I understand the importance of protecting our roads, water sources, and rural way of life. I've worked closely with county agencies and agricultural commissioners to operate responsibly and remain compliant. I am committed to learning, improving, and being an active part of the local farming community. I believe in conservation and sustainable farming practices. I'm committed to leaving the land better than I found it. Agriculture has always been the backbone of Lake County's economy. While agriculture continues to evolve, its purpose remains the same: create jobs, support families, generating revenue, and preserving working lands for future generations. I am a part of the next generation of California's farmers, and I hope the next generation of my family will continue farming and contributing to Lake County long after I am gone. Today, I respectfully ask for your support for Sigler Springs North. I am committed to creating local jobs, generating economic activity, contributing tax revenue, and strengthening Lake County's agricultural future while remaining a responsible neighbor and stewardship. And I'd like to add that I really do speak with all my neighbors. I do own other property in Lake County and have a good relationship with my neighbors. I am the guy that grades the road. When a tree falls, they call me and I open it up. I am a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Małgorzata Żuk, and I would like to ask for permission to show a PowerPoint presentation as I speak for 3 minutes. Would that be okay with you?
If it's within the 3 minutes, certainly.
Would you assist me with screen share?
While you're setting that up, is there anyone else from the chambers who would like to speak? We'll get this set up for her.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Walter Musinski, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Adidam that owns the property there. And I just wanted to give a little bit of a background. Some of you probably know. I mean, we've been in the community now for over 50 years. And why did we choose that particular property? Of course, it was available, it was at a campsite and stuff, but it was sacred property, and that is the reason that we were attracted to it. It had been sacred property for thousands of years for the natives in this area. And we wanted to be part of that because we understood the value of the sacred. The sacred's not material. There's material artifacts, but it is creating a space for the great one. Whatever great one that you respect in that kind of way, it respects that. And we understood that, and we wanted to be part of have a sanctuary that had taken into account not just the initial property that we bought, but all of the additional properties that we added to it were basically in preservation of the first main core of that property. And so that's why we are so strongly opposed to having any kind of negative impact in that, in terms of commercial kinds of activities and anything. This may seem a little bit out of the ordinary, but the sacred is being desecrated all over the place. And we want to preserve that and preserve this area. And I can even ask everyone here is that wherever you find the sacred, do you want an activity like this right next door and possibly going through your area? So I urge the commissioners to take that into consideration as a value, as a true value of culture altogether in Lake County and everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Is our PowerPoint ready? All right. Please just state your name again, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Małgorzata Żuk. I am the General Counsel of Adidam Holy Domains. Adidam Holy Domains owns and operates the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. It is a long-established religious retreat and sanctuary. It is located within the Sigler Canyon Creek watershed and is neighboring the project property. I would like to invite the commissioners to consider a fundamental question. Do we know enough today to approve this project? Is the information that is contained in the record sufficient to answer these questions with confidence? Is access adequate? Is the water supply adequate? Is fire protection adequate? And have environmental impacts been shown to be less than significant? As in 2023, at the original hearing, access to this property remains unresolved. The proposed access route crosses Adidam Holy Domains property, and questions still remain regarding the legal basis for this access. Existing gate, Adidam Holy Domains gate on its property, is controlled by the sanctuary, and there hasn't been a resolution to how the applicant is going to access the property through our land. And there is no clear plan for employees, contractors, deliveries, and trucks, or emergency access. So in summary, the record does not demonstrate that access actually has been shown. The red line outlines part of the footprint of the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. The yellow-orange rectangle is the project property. The neon blue is the dirt road that crosses the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. It forks from Sigler Springs North Road, goes through our property, and enters the project area. Next slide. On this dirt road at the Mountain of Attention, there is a gate. The gate has a lock. Our organization controls access. As of today, there haven't been any conversations regarding how the employees and staff are going to enter the project area. I do not have time to focus on other points, but I would just move to the end and pose that the record so far has not demonstrated number of important factors, including access. The other points was adequacy of water, protection of the environment, its impact on the watershed, and fire safety. So for all of these reasons, Adidam Holy Domains asked the commissioners to not approve this project today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I need my AV guy.
Do we want to wait a moment till that, is this picture going to be part of your?
Yes, I have 4 photographs, and their number, does that come out okay?
Okay, so we'll take the Zoom while they're setting up your, okay.
Hello, this is Gordon Thrupp. Can you hear me?
Say your name one more time, please.
Gordon Thrupp.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
I don't know if you can see me. That'd be nice, but I'm not sure how I turn it on.
That's all right.
Anyway, are we able to upload to show my presentation that was emailed earlier this morning? It was emailed to Trish, to the planning person.
I think that if you could summarize your presentation, that would be the most expedient way to do that. If you want to take a moment.
Okay, I mean, if there are questions that follow from the commissioners, I could show a couple of slides. Am I limited to 3 minutes? Looks like I am. Okay, I'm a PhD geologist, and I'm a registered professional geologist and a certified hydrogeologist with the state of California.
I think we received your packet.
Okay, you have not, you said?
We have.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. It's a lot of stuff so late in the game, but my letter is only 6 pages, so maybe you can just read the summary and conclusions, and then maybe you can also look at attachment 2, which is only 2 pages, which is an excellent summary of problems with fractured rock production.
How about you highlight the salient problems that you see? We do have your packet.
Okay. I have my second slide is a picture which illustrates that groundwater conditions in fractured rock aquifers are commonly completely different than in like alluvial aquifers or sandstones, for example. And that's because fractures are very discrete commonly and can be limited in extent, and commonly the fractures in which groundwater is can be pumped are a much smaller portion of the rock or the aquifer than in, like, for example, alluvial aquifers. And because of this, many of the standard analysis techniques and modeling for general alluvial aquifers don't even apply because it's not a uniform permeability and porosity. And there's many publications and lots of anecdotal data from people know about that the yield of fractured rock wells, decrease with time commonly and can dry up. Long-term monitoring data are imperative to estimate the yield. In addition, the recharge to fractured bedrock, is not the same as like a near-surface alluvial aquifer. The well is completed for the project 300 to 400 feet deep approximately. Recharge from the surface would take many years, decades or longer. And And the deep groundwater that will be pumped is likely decades or even centuries old. And therefore also impacts of drought are significant, but they don't occur for years after the drought occurs with respect to the groundwater conditions. In addition, the impacts to groundwater conditions, nearby wells, and riparian ecosystems are, don't recover. They're cumulative with time. So like the testing that was presented in the additional testing for only 6 hours, they assume, based on that recovery will be complete. After 8 hours of pumping every day, they assume the next day all the groundwater is recovered, it's back to initial conditions, but that's rarely the case in fractured rock. And it's going to gradually decrease with time. So that has to be accounted for in estimating yield with time and sustainable yield. You need long-term testing. They only have a 2-hour test, and a 6-hour test. Moreover, those tests showed estimated production of first 40 GPM, and then the longer test, 25 gallons per minute. But that's less than half of the project demand when it's averaged. So in conclusion, the groundwater conditions are unlikely to recover. How much time do I have? 1 minute, okay. Recover between periods of pumping of the project well. In my professional opinion, as a licensed geologist and certified hydrogeologist in California, credible evidence before the commissioners, before you, is insufficient to demonstrate, one, an adequate sustainable source of groundwater to meet the project demands, and two, to support the required finding that all potential impacts associated with the project can be mitigated to a less than significant level. Based on my review, the commissioners do not have a justifiable basis to approve the project, at least without additional credible evidence, analysis, and review in accordance with CEQA. Thank you. I'm available for questions later if you have any.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, there was a gentleman who had, 3 pictures?
Yeah, we're ready to share.
Okay. Okay, you. Please state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Duncan Gamlin. I am the fire marshal for the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. And I've been a real estate broker for 45 years. I was a professional grower for 15 years. Won an award at the Emerald Cup, which is the Oscars of cannabis. So I was pretty good at what I did. And I also live on Siegler Springs North Road. So first slide. Oh, thank you. The Valley Fire of 2015 was initiated by faulty wiring on a hot tub on Bottle Rock Road. Go ahead, next slide. This is the core of the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. This fire came at us with a vengeance. It destroyed Hoburgs, it destroyed Harbin, it destroyed Howard, and it would have destroyed our sanctuary were it not for 10 brave men who stayed. And by the way, CAL FIRE was there with us, but then got called away to protect Hidden Valley, which was a decision we understood, and we were on our own. Next slide, please. This is an untrained firefighter keeping the fire from approaching and burning down the core of the sanctuary. These 10 men, next slide, please. Of the 10 men that were there to fight the fire, 5 of them lost their homes. choosing to stay and protect the sanctuary. I think that speaks to the commitment we have to preserve the sanctity of this sacred place. Now, with regard to the other, I'm watching my time. With regard to other fires throughout California, we are in a very high fire severity zone, and we are in the middle of the wildland-urban interface. And all of the mega fires that have happened in California in the last 11 years have been this designation. All of them, except for 2 that are still under investigation, were human-caused errors by humans that cause this. We're building these proposed projects, the Morning Project and the one coming later, are planned for development in the wildland-urban interface in a very high severity zone. This is not well advised. So, and here in California, I'm going to read to make it under the time limit. We continue to look to approve cannabis projects in these risky areas. The cumulative effect of these approvals is continued intensification of development within the wildland-urban interface, and in this case, in an SRA very high severity zone. The county appears to assume the compliance with fire codes automatically resolves CEQA wildfire concerns. CEQA, however, asks whether impacts have been analyzed and mitigated, not simply whether a project will comply with minimum regulations and check off the box. Where is the specific, project-specific wildfire analysis that supports the conclusions that the impacts are less than significant?
Can you please wrap up?
Yeah, I will, very soon. And I live in the area, and the road is not conducive to evacuation of all the grows that are going up there, plus the people that live there. And the last thing I want to say, because I am a very pro-cannabis person, this is the right product. It's just in the wrong place. We should be looking for opportunities to place new agricultural investment in locations that already have infrastructure rather than pushing further into high fire risk wildlife environments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, good morning. My name's Elliot Hurwitz, and I'm the director of the Cedar Springs Community Redevelopment Association. We're a local 501c3 that's been active in the Cobb Mountain area for over 10 years now. Our organization is currently managing the Cobb Area Watershed Education and Restoration Program, which is funded by the California Natural Resources Agency, as well as the development of a new Cobb Area Community Wildfire Protection Plan with funding from the U.S. Forest Service. I've had a 35-year career in planning, environmental policy, and climate issues, including 12 years with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I'm here this morning to strongly urge this commission to not approve the major use permit for this project. While the project does present numerous complexities, our organization is deeply concerned about its severe impacts to local groundwater. The site sits in critical proximity to the headwaters of the source spring of Seigler Creek. And while the proposal claims that groundwater levels will not be affected, I do not believe that adequate testing has been done to justify this, and that the theoretical calculations are not reliable given the continuing conditions of unabated rising temperatures. Without getting deeply into this, I'll simply note that the current official California climate adaptation states that, quote, "The message is clear. California faces increased temperature, drought, and fire weather in years ahead." This means that even the current drought year projections used in the project plan will be inadequate. Seigler Creek is a principal, historically significant creek used for spawning of the Clear Lake hitch, and as such needs to be treated with extreme care. As you know, the Clear Lake hitch is a culturally significant, threatened species facing a catastrophic decline depending on the seasonal flows of creeks like Seigler Creek. Drawing massive volumes of commercial groundwater at the very source of this watershed risks lowering the water table and drying up critical spawning areas. Furthermore, maintaining adequate groundwater levels is absolutely vital for strengthening the wildfire resistance of this forested area. Deep soil moisture and hydrated vegetation support natural fire resistance, again, especially significant under projected warming conditions. This specific project sits within the historical footprint of the Valley Fire, as you just heard, and it's also within a few hundred yards of the 1979 Siegler Fire and the 1950 Siegler Canyon Fire, demonstrating a proven dangerous history of flammability. Depleting the groundwater table to support commercial cultivation will dehydrate the surrounding forest, dry out the fuel load, and significantly elevate our regional wildfire risk. The state has invested considerable funds to help us restore Cobb's watersheds. This is incompatible with new commercial high water use projects at the source of key riparian corridors. Please protect the Cobb Mountain watersheds, honor the state's investments in our safety, and do not approve this permit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Magdalena Valderrama, and I submitted a detailed e-comment previously on this item, and I want to briefly highlight the core points for you today. For the last 8 years, I have served as a regional FireWise community coordinator, a core member of the Fire Adapted Communities Learning Network, and I am a member of the county's community organizations active in disaster. Today, I speak as chair for and resident of the Siegler Springs FireWise community, which includes the 2 subject parcels. We are a unified basin that encompasses the Siegler Springs subdivision at the intersection of Loch Lomond Road and the North Siegler Road. That is a key evacuation point. I dare say that my remarks will build on the previous testimonies regarding our evacuation corridor, because in my decade of community-led mitigation work, I've learned that a safety plan is only as good as the actual flow on the ground. Like most of Lake County, we are in a very high fire hazard severity zone, and yet the proposal relies on general state designations, CAL FIRE for the SRA, rather than a rigorous site-specific evacuation flow analysis. While it is true that CAL FIRE has that SRA designation, it has to be noted that it is the South Lake Fire Protection District that does the on-the-ground management early response to what is going on there, and they are doing the early stage evacuation coordination. So relying on box ticking, those kinds of safety assumptions for us instead of verified operational traffic analysis is a dangerous gamble. You cannot approve this project until we have an evacuation plan that accounts for the density of our centers, verified by the South Lake Fire Protection District. We need, and because my time is limited, I'll just also indicate that there's some other concerns relative to the noise. I noticed the Mountain of Attention saying something about the sacredness. I live in the Siegler Springs subdivision, a mile and a half away. When I'm woken by a noise violation, there is no way for me to tell exactly where that noise is coming from. We are in an amphitheater. This is a mountainous area, so all noise gets amplified. We need a site-specific sound analysis to understand that, yes, those mitigations are adequate. So until that is, please give our community the protections that are actually required under CEQA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your input in your letter. It was very, very informative.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm going to share screen again, hopefully without any of that reverb. Okay. I'm going to pull up first one of the images.
Please identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Alexander Powell. I am an officer of the nonprofit entity that owns and maintains the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary, as well as other sanctuaries. And, well, I wanted to bring up a few things that have already been mentioned, but I wanted to repeat and bring up a picture, if I can find it here, forgive me. This is an image the applicant had showed, and I just wanted to point out, it's kind of hard to see, but where it says Gray Road at the top, where it meets Ziegler Springs North, you can see the hoop houses right above there, the beginning of, I think, only 5 or 6 hoop houses. And the core of the sanctuary is down the North Ziegler Road. More often than, whenever there's seasonal production, the noise that maybe Magdalena Valderrama mentioned is heard and wakes up people on the sanctuary. And one day I was in my office there, and I heard this, and I tried to find out the source and tracked it back to these hoop houses, which were built on the top of the hill, initially without a permit. But then they eventually permitted it later, but we were not really prepared for that. We didn't get a notice, so it began happening before we even had any chance to do anything about it. So that's one thing that I wanted to just mention, is that they're building on top of these hills that just, the noise and everything, just right down into the nice valley there that we've created this sacred environment and quiet environment for. Also across the top, that's the peak of the hill just above the applicant's property. And let me go to this other slide that I wanted to mention here. Well, you can see that, first of all, I just think that developing below that hill is the key here. Everything that happens is now in the valley with the sanctuary. And I think that's the main concern. Like over the hill, that makes more sense in some ways, at least, to just preserve that valley, but all the noise is going to come down. It already does. And that was one point I wanted to make. The other was just this spring. The blue dot on the left here is at the edge of the applicant's property, and that's their well. On this map that I got from online, that is the wellhead, the creek head for Ziegler Canyon Creek. So this is where it starts, and that's where they tapped a well. So it's just worrisome that you're going to draw water right from the source, where the source of the creek comes. And you can see I've shown where it kind of flows down, and then the other blue dot is where our well is. So that's the principal thing. The last thing I want to mention here is simply that, and I can't find the slide, of course, but to maintain the sanctity of the sanctuary, to maintain the land that we steward. And I should also mention, what hasn't been mentioned, was that we have had grants to protect the trees and the wildlife there. And in the process, we've been clearing some of the burnable brush that grows and trying to recreate a canopy after this valley fire came through there. And I think it's really important that we continue that. But one of the things that came up was a concern for wildlife. And so Clerk, I think, put a camera there. And there's all kinds of wild variety of wildlife, owls, even a bear, mountain lions, and everything living there. So I think that we just want to preserve the human sanctity, but also the wildlife sanctity in that space. And thank you for your time.
I just have one question. The hoop houses you're referencing, are they part of this project? I wasn't clear what you said.
No, I was more noting that grow because there was a map showing of the grows.
It's a different project.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we didn't even get a chance to go to the hearing because it was developed. Okay.
That's fine. I just need that clarity. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Margaret Schumacher. I'm a member of the Adidam community, and I've got a slightly different point of view. I have been living in this area 2 miles from the site for the last 25 years, and probably 3 to 4 times a week I walk along the North Ziegler Road. And so I'm very concerned about the impact of this project on the road, because I walk and many of my friends and neighbors do as well. And it looks to me, when I'm looking at that map that showed where our locked gate is, that still would come onto Ziegler Road quite a ways from where we can walk before it hits the dirt road. And so the increased traffic, the noise, the dust, the beauty for me is that it's 2 miles from my house, it's level, and there's virtually no traffic. So at 82, it's important for me to keep my mobility, and this is one thing that allows me to do it. And I would really hate to see it ruined for myself, but also for the many people that walk, jog, take their dogs, and enjoy that road. So thank you for taking that into account.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom? Oh, okay.
My name's Darcy Scarata.
Should you move the microphone a little closer so everyone can hear you?
Okay. My name is Darcy Scarata, and this proposal borders on the northeast corner of our property at 10976 Rosa Trail. We purchased our 5 acres after already losing a retirement home to wildfire in 2015. We chose this lovely property for the trees, the quiet, and the wildlife. We hope to protect it as much as we can from further water loss and fire threat. We have a 700-foot well, which was so high in iron and other minerals that we needed to invest $10,000 in a municipal level filtration system to, with ongoing maintenance, to make our water usable. This grow, we feel, could threaten our well and water supply. We've already experienced ongoing periods of noise from grows further from us than this proposal at the existing Pasta Farms. The noise prevents us from enjoying our outside space and from having windows open during the night and cool hours. The relatively low traffic and road noise with undisturbed wildlife that we also value is threatened by the proposed grow. Not least to us, we enjoy a serene forest walk with very fresh air above the proposed site. A large cannabis grow would alter that. And this, if you want to see the overlap, is our property versus the grow. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I'm getting
Yes, hi, Francis Scott. Thank you very much for this time. I'm a resident of the area, retired, 83, background in engineering. My concern is, well, as also has already been expressed, is relative to the noise. I mean, the value we place on our quiet, all of us. You can't even put a value on it. It's so remarkable. And so we get into heavy equipment, trucks. We get into all kinds of questions. I don't even know how the materials process is going to be, like these enormously loud fans or trimming equipment. They get up to like 100 dB levels of noise. Ambience, what, 35? We would be destroyed. No peace, gone. And so I think traffic alone is, what, up at 85 dB, and attenuates at a level of like, what, less than 5 dB for every, I don't know how many feet, a lot of feet. It would be devastating. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break here. We'll come back at 11:30. Thank you. Call the resuming of the meeting, are we? All right, thank you, we're back. So we were with public comment, and so I'll continue with that. Is there anyone else from the chambers who would like to step forward and share 3 minutes?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Margot Kambara. Previous speakers have identified serious issues with the project. I bring 2 topics to your attention. First, access. Without a recorded easement, the project cannot be granted a permit as requested. According to Lake County Article 27, uses generally permitted, page 27-118, page 27-119. Secondly, tree removal. According to the project's oak mitigation plan, quote, approximately 3 acres of oak woodland habitat on the property will be affected by the removal of black oak trees and a variety of life stages. The area to be converted contains black oaks up to 28 inches at diameter breast height. The average height of the trees slated for removal is 40 feet. All trees were observed to be in good health. 76 black oaks over 6 inches at diameter breast height are designated for removal, end quote. The removal of healthy trees, especially oaks, is ill-advised. Every month since 2022, Lake County Board of Supervisors renews a proclamation of the existence of a local emergency due to pervasive tree mortality. From the project documents, it is not clear what options were considered to avoid or minimize removal of trees. The best tree preservation and protection measure is to not remove trees. A recommendation to the Commission. Ask the applicant to explain in detail how the project limited removal of trees. What approaches, what approaches were taken, and if the response is not satisfactory in terms of serious effort to preserve trees, then continue the hearing to allow the applicant to respond fully on this question. I have 3 other questions from what we heard on this hearing, and that is, first, the annual inspection planned per Trish Turner she referenced, but CDD in the new cannabis regulations is proposing to eliminate annual inspections. So what's going to happen on those tree inspections? The inspections can be happening maybe once every other year or once every 5 years, depending on whether, well, primarily on the discretion of the director. So that is not satisfactory. This tree mitigation using young trees, not very successful. I will leave my other questions unstated then, but thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Isaacson, and I live in the neighborhood. And I've heard about this project from my neighbors. I live on Loch Lomond Road, and I would not be looking forward to any increased industry in my neighborhood. It's rural, and that's why I moved here out of San Francisco, to have a rural lifestyle. And I don't look forward to the kind of trucks that would be going up and down the road and all the other effects of a big industry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Commissioner and Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Gina Maciosi. I've been a member of the Adidam community in this area since 1986, and I worked for the Middletown School District as an occupational therapist before the Valley Fire. I have two concerns I'd like to say. One is that I serve on the Mountain of Attention on grounds, and during the peak of the fire season, it's not unusual that you might go to turn on a water hose and no water comes out. So it's a real thing. I'm not a hydrogeologist, and I don't know exactly where the sources of water are coming from, but I would presume that some of those sources are coming from the Siegler Creek, and it's a real thing when you turn on a hose and it's completely dry and no water comes out. So that's one of my concerns. The second concern is that I lived across the street from Snow's Lake Vineyard on Perini Road, and at midnight, they would spray pesticides with small little tractors and headlights, and they would usually do it, around midnight, and you would hear all the little tractors, and the headlights would be coming down the hillside of the vineyards. And I can't prove a connection, but I did have in the 90th percentile of glyphosate residue in my body, and I spent about 2 years going through glutathione IVs to remove that residue from my body. And so I don't know what kinds of pesticides would be used in this operation, but we also have a sacred camel herd of approximately 17 double-humped camels that are right across the street on the North Road. And I'm concerned about what kinds of pesticide residues would be coming down onto our sacred camel garden that also has horses, goats, as well as the sacred camel herd, which has been reported on by National Geographic. It's a very unusual thing, and it's right there on our sanctuary. So thank you for your consideration for the safety of our sanctuary.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on Zoom? All right. Well, we take a moment and we'll do the Zoom, and then we will get to the next speaker.
Hi, good morning.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Oh.
No, you're there. State your name and just go right ahead.
My name is Greg Peters. I've been a computer network manager for the sanctuary for 30 years. Really enjoy the peace and quiet. I used to live in Houston with all the traffic and pollution and so on, and so I really like it being here. I appreciate the applicant's sensitivity to the sanctuary about the noise and so on when he said the access route by the sanctuary would only be used in emergencies. That's kind of a tricky word. Okay, so my question would be, who defines when there is an emergency? If they declare an emergency, do they have carte blanche just to drive by the sanctuary? And that's a tricky area because there are people walking from the sanctuary across the road to where we get our meals. We also eat outside, weather permitting, and if we've got trucks coming through there with pollution and so on, you can see that's both dangerous and not healthy. So I'm really concerned about, Robert Burns said, our plans often go astray. And so even though they planned an access route going away from the sanctuary, that could possibly change. So what recourse would we have then? Somebody declares emergency and there's nothing we can do about it. Is there legal recourse? Because we really do not want people coming by the sanctuary, as I think you could understand. So at this point, I would be very against the proposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, let's try the folks on Zoom.
Okay, hello. I think I'm maybe audible now, am I?
Yes.
All right, I'm Robert Riggs. My address is 9779 Broadmoor Way in Kelseyville, I'm an attorney and I represent the holy domains, otherwise known as Adi Dam. I have a few comments I'd like to make. Even though this is a revival of a prior application that originated in 2021, and even though it was heard back in 2023, it really is a new application. It should be regarded that way because there's a new owner, there's a new project developer, and many new aspects have been added about the project. And the problem is, Adi Dam only heard about the project being revived about a month ago. That there was a hearing and it was postponed only about 2 weeks. So some things really haven't been looked at as carefully as they need to be. One of which is the groundwater impacts. And Gordon Thrupp, who's a very good hydrogeologist, submitted a report. The main takeaways from which are that the groundwater testing that's been done is not adequate. It's not adequate in duration or in concept. So it really needs to be done more thoroughly, because the concerns about the groundwater are very legitimate concerns that the Adi Dam has, and also really that the entire county should have, given that it's the headwaters of Ziegler Creek. The whole application seems a little bit rushed overall. I'm going to point out some examples of that. Some of the things that the applicant said, and I was very happy to hear that he's open to working with the community. He understands it's a major neighbor, but many of the things he said are not incorporated into the conditions of approval. And this is a kind of I'll call it a virgin property. It's something that's never been used for commercial agriculture before. So it's going to have more impacts than if you were just taking a vineyard, for example, and converting it to a cannabis operation. You're taking basically an undeveloped property and developing it. I think it needs to be looked at carefully. But some of the things that were said that I didn't see in the conditions of approval, for example, are the drought-related measures that were described by the consultant. They're nowhere in the conditions of approval. They're specifically not in Part H on page 5 of the conditions of approval, at least that I can find. Also, a lot was said about regenerative cultural practices, including things such as grazing with goats. That's nowhere in the conditions of approval, and it's specifically not in condition F on pages 4 to 5. About the proposed access route, and this is something that some of the speakers brought up. Well, it was stated, we're only going to access this from the Kelseyville end. We're not going to come from the Loch Lomond end. That's not in conditions of approval. So as someone asked, is there a legally binding aspect to it? Not unless it's in a condition of approval.
Can you please conclude your comments?
Certainly. My point is that the project hasn't been really thought through fully. There's no harm in continuing this 90 days to allow the Adi Dam to confer with the applicant. He said he's open to talking to them. They need to confer too about the easement. There is no proper easement. We've submitted that in writing. There is not a valid easement. They're trying to rely on one that wasn't valid and say, well, it was revived by a later situation. That's an equitable argument. I would submit that a 90-day continuance would allow time to try to work out what's going to happen about this access road. And that's a very important thing since it crosses the Adi Dam property. So my recommendation is that this application not be granted today and that it be put over at least 90 days to allow these things to be looked at more fully.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I would like to just address a couple of things. Condition 1 states that the applicant shall be in substantial conformance with the following, and it lays out all of the submitted plans, including the hydrology and drought management plan that is included in the attachments, and it is something that is in the conditions of approval. And then the transportation one in regards to traveling only north to from the project to the project and not being able to cross down into the Holy Domains access property. That is in red line conditions that were submitted to you guys with the green sheet.
So just for clarification, the gated access that we saw would not ever be used to access the particular project. Is that correct? Yeah.
Excuse me, Trey Sherrill, consultant. The gate that was shown here by one of the public commenters, that portion of the road would be used. That is where there is an easement that exists that connects to North Sligo Springs Road. The path of travel would travel north on North Sligo Springs Road and not be allowed to travel south except during emergencies. And we have to keep that aspect in there in case of a fire emergency, for example. But they wouldn't be able to travel south, and the meditation center is located approximately 4,000 feet south of the
So
property.
is this a legal right of way?
Yes, ma'am, and Trish has indicated that this is included in your packet, the easement.
I know, but it was mentioned that the stipulation, and so I just want to clarify.
Chair, I'd like to recommend if we could continue with the public
Okay,
comments. And
then we can ask
because
questions.
I think that's an extended conversation that.
Okay,
that
thank you.
I'd like to
All right.
engage in. If we could maybe
Yeah.
finish with public comments
Okay.
first and then.
Good point. Next person on Zoom?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is William Stranger. I'm a publisher. I'm a member of the Adidam community, and I'm also the closest physical resident to the proposed marijuana grow. I can tell you as a resident here that the hoop houses across the road from us have drastically reduced our water availability from the wells. And that you can talk about many other things. I want to bring up two fundamental areas. One is I believe the property applicant, who seems like a good man and has done his best to accommodate right practices, he was fundamentally deceived by the seller of the property. And that map that was been displayed here repeatedly about the center of the Adidam so-called retreat center and the other areas doesn't really describe what this property is about at all. The entire property on that road, including property to the left of the entrance area, is literally borders on a sacred land. The animals area is a specific part of the founder's teaching on animals as contemplators. And the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary in his work is where people come from around the world to enter into a depth of contemplation. What is designated as the retreat center several thousand feet away is in fact a holy land with over 13 temples on it that are served daily by priests. This whole land is imbued with the spirit presence that attracts people from around the world and makes it a place of pilgrimage. These include former EU ministers, business people of all kinds, political activists, other people from even other religions who come to hope and be brightened by their access here. This is why the endorsements of his Adidas teaching have been so incredibly powerful and profound. One of the great scholars of our time, an old late friend of mine named Roy Finch, wrote, "There exists nowhere in the world today, among Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, native tribalists, or any other groups, anyone who has so much to teach, or who speaks with such authority, or is so important for understanding our situation. If we are willing to learn from him in every way, he is a pole around which the world can get its bearings." Many of you know the work of Alan Watts, who wrote just right after he heard about Adidas teaching at the very beginning of his ministry. It's obvious, all sorts of subtle details that he knows what it's all about, a rare being. And again, I can go on, there's dozens of these kinds of communications. Adidas himself was a spiritual presence. The teaching came out of that presence. And he wrote a poem at the beginning of his ministry that was prophetic about this particular moment. And this is the concern of all those who have come and spoken to you today. Yes, am I only to live and die and thus to feed the earth? Should I only live and die and thus create the mystery of a holy ground? Will generations pass this place of my dilemmas, feel the movements underfoot, and never know the reasons and the meaning of the currents of bliss that fill them? Will the earth itself perform my only shout? Will the rod of my few bodies be my only song? Will no one understand? Will all of this, even the holy ground, fall unknown into the sea, without a parcel of my living left to heal the feet of pilgrims? No one else can suffer the mysteries of my birth or death, and only my own children can build a temple where I rise and fall. I am one of many such children. I've given my life over to the preservation of this holy place. I have brought people here from around the world in my travels. I have watched their knees bend and weep as they walk this sanctuary. I can tell you it's not a retreat.
Could you please conclude your comments?
I live right nearby. The bisection of the road here bisects the sanctuary, absolutely is a dagger to the heart of the contemplative location this is set aside to be. Lake County must preserve it. It will be a place of pilgrimage for decades, generations, eons to come. I please ask you to put aside this application. Let us speak to the applicant and see if we can come up with an arrangement that allows him to exit from this in a way that makes sense for us both.
Thank you. Another person on Zoom? Is that it? One more? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes, please.
Okay. My name is Dennis Duff. I moved to Lake County over 50 years ago. I am a part of the Adidam community. I lost my house, a beautiful home on 5 acres in the Valley Fire, and bought another house, actually Mr. Briggs's house, his former house. I haven't spoken to him in many years. My biggest concern about this is the effect on the natural environment and water. We live in an area that is so dangerous right now, and to be cutting out old trees. Can you still hear me?
Yes. Yes. Yes, continue. No, where'd it go?
There's
you're cutting in and out. Why don't you try to call back in, and we'll go on to the next Zoom person, because we've lost you. Okay, let's go on to the other person, and if he comes back in right away, then we'll take him. Okay. Please identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Angie Dodd with North Point Consulting Group. I'm a licensed engineer with a PhD in surface and groundwater engineering who prepared the groundwater analysis. The comments regarding the water analysis conclude that insufficient evidence exists to demonstrate a sustainable long-term water supply because the project well is completed in fractured volcanic rock and because long-duration aquifer testing has not been conducted. However, this conclusion is not supported by local experience or evidence in the record. It is only opinion and not predicated on facts. The project is located in an area where numerous wells drilled in the same volcanic formations have provided reliable water supplies for decades. The average yield of wells in the area is approximately 53 gallons per minute. The project well has a reported yield of 40 gallons per minute. A well test confirmed a robust production rate at 25 gallons per minute, and the project proposes a maximum rate of less than 10 gallons per minute. Wells in similar formations throughout the county have supported ag uses, including orchards, vineyards, and cannabis cultivation. The comments rely heavily on a general informational document from the Pacific Northwest that does not provide site-specific information regarding groundwater conditions in the county. The analysis in the report relies on, the analysis I provided does not rely on an alluvial analysis. It does rely on the formation that the water actually is in. The commenter also criticizes the duration of well testing. However, the purpose of the test was to demonstrate that the well can produce water at rates sufficient to meet the demand. The proposed pumping rate is only a fraction of the well's demonstrated capacity. The 6-hour test resulted in little drawdown and fast recovery and is a measure of what daily use would look like. The project well is completed within a deep confined aquifer over 400 feet below the ground surface. Water level is over 200 feet below the ground surface. And an analysis and available information indicates that the well is not hydrologically connected to nearby surface waters of Siegler Creek. The analysis determined a radius of influence of less than 200 feet and no nearby wells are located within this distance. The testing data, recharge calculations, well construction information, and evaluation of local hydrogeologic conditions provide substantial evidence that adequate water is available. In addition, the project includes groundwater monitoring and reporting to ensure sufficient recharge and sustainable operation over time. The reviewer characterizes monitoring and drought management measures as inadequate because monitoring alone does not prevent impacts. However, the project's monitoring program is not a standalone measure. The project includes ongoing reporting requirements and drought response measures specifically intended to identify changing conditions, ensure regulatory oversight, and implement operational adjustments if necessary. These requirements provide a mechanism for continued evaluation and management of groundwater use throughout the life of the project. The project will monitor seasonal static water level to ensure recharge is happening and water level during extraction to ensure overpumping is not occurring, and this will be reported to the county.
Can you please
conclude? Yes, the comments raised, will be really quick. Comments raised concerns regarding fire protection, but the project includes dedicated fire water storage that does not already exist on the property. And in addition, regular site maintenance and ongoing management associated with the project can reduce fire hazards compared to unmanaged lands. Again, there's nothing, sorry. Finally, comments previously, nope, I didn't want to say that. For these reasons, the evidence in the record continues to support the conclusion that the project has an adequate and sustainable water supply and will not result in significant impacts to groundwater, surface water resources, or neighboring water users. I know my time is up, but I have a paragraph of what's actually stated in the hydrology report. That is a condition of approval that explains the monitoring and reporting that will be done. If the commissioners want to hear that paragraph, I can read it to you, or I can conclude now. Thank you.
We have that information, so
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that gentleman didn't come back on Zoom? Okay. Last call for folks from the chambers for statements.
My name is Daniel Apte. Thank you, commissioners and chair, for being here. And I also live, as an earlier speaker stated, on 10976 Rosa Trail, which is kind of on the other side of the mountain from a lot of the other people who have spoken. But our 5-acre property is adjacent, immediately adjacent. The property lines touch, and so I'm strongly, for personal reasons, if no other, object to this, because this grow would definitely impact us, being immediately next door. As earlier stated, we do already hear quite a bit of noise from grows in the area. They keep us up at night, and they're much further away, so this being so so close would definitely affect us. The loss of, I believe it was 76 oak trees, healthy oak trees. I mean, we're already, in a situation where every tree in the area is valuable to us, whether, on our property or property next door. The habitats that the trees afford, and the environmental impact of losing all those trees, I definitely do not feel it justifies the project. And so I strongly encourage that it not be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll take one more Zoom and then we'll close public comment. So please state your name and 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kristen Callahan from Magic Meadow Farms, owner operator in Middletown. I am in support of this project. I've been cultivating since the very beginning and a lot of struggles as a female operator, and this individual and this group has come in and pretty much saved my small business, a family business in Middletown that supports the region in all different kinds of ways for the community and for my family. This project is, like many other projects, filled with concerns, and even though those concerns are there, this particular group will bring so many amazing things to this community. And one of the individuals as part of this group has come in and installed really beautiful structures and improved my farm and helped me to be more sustainable and to have a really long economic path. If it wasn't for this group, that wouldn't have happened for me. And another reason that I really believe in supporting smaller operators and these small communities is because it opens up so many economic resources and opportunities for people to have jobs. I know firsthand that with the project description that this is going to bring lots of opportunities for people who need work in a very depressed economy. All of the concerns that have been raised are all really valid concerns, but I feel like as a cultivator, as a business owner, as a parent, as a part of this community, that I want to stand up and say something positive, because there's certain people that really deserve a chance. And I really believe in my heart that this group in this small community could bring a lot of economic viability and improve the roads, fire dangers. They plant beneficial insectary gardens around their fields. They're planting in the native soil. They're doing things that I believe in my heart are the way forward in sustainable agriculture and water, including water conservation. And we're working closely together with each other to support each other at a very difficult time in the cannabis industry. So I understand that there is all this struggle, but when we get this far through development and planners and the community development department is behind them, that we should give the runway so that another small business can flourish and do great things for this little community that really needs more economic, strategies for the youth and people coming of age and looking for ways to better their life. I hope that what I'm saying makes sense, but for me, as a business owner in this particular industry, I couldn't say more nice things about this group and what they've done for me. So in my little region, in my little farm in Middletown, we're really doing great things. So I really would like to stand next to them and support them and support this community and really be a partner with this group to do really beautiful organic farming and bring positivity to the community in another space. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I will close public comment and bring it back to the commissioners for questions and comments.
Yeah, well, as you started before, if we could dive into the road access
Right ahead.
situation. And along with that too, I do want to state that, again, as a planning commissioner, I really like to do site visits because I am not clear at all on the road situation. And a site visit would have helped resolve that. So again, anything that staff can do to help facilitate that, and I'm going to throw that out there to anybody proposing a project, reach out to the commissioners and offer a site visit. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Trish Turner, Associate Planner, Community Development Department. Attachment 7 on the attachments provided today on today's agenda is the granted easement.
Okay, thank you. So, do you have other questions for going forward?
Yes, that's.
There you go.
There's a granted easement, there's a gate.
Yeah.
That was shown to us today, that becomes evidence in today's hearing. So there's a gate on this granted easement. And then there's information, there's a dispute of exactly who owns or whether that easement is valid. Any comments?
I know this is not the first time this has come up, so I'll defer to County Council, please, to clarify for us or offer some guidance potentially.
So the question is, there's a gate.
Right.
On a road.
Yes.
And the question is that a granted easement? What is the status of anybody crossing,
Is it a
using that
valid
road?
easement?
Yeah, so this commission does not make determinations as to validity of easements. What you will do is you'll take into consideration the evidence presented to you, and if you, and as you weigh that evidence, if you are not convinced that there is illegal access to this grow site, or the project site, then you would vote no, because you couldn't make that finding. If you are convinced, based on how you weigh the evidence before you, that there is valid access to this site, then you would vote yes. And if you are unclear, you would ask for more information. I will say, however, that in this case, this is not an argument about validity of easement and scope of an easement is not something that the county will be able to settle. So it's unlikely that staff will be able to bring further information to you beyond the documentation provided and the comments given today. Because this would be a civil matter that the neighbors who are arguing over the existence and scope of an easement would take to a court, and a court would have authority to make that decision, and not the county.
Okay, thank you. Do you have other questions?
Well, just going further into that question, so if Sigler Springs Road passes through that sanctuary's properties, what access road does this property have? If this wasn't this specific project, how would the property owners get to the road, or what? I mean, there has to be some kind of access. There is some kind of access. So I'm just trying to figure out how we can, or how that works. So I don't know if you guys have discussed that, or
May I answer this question?
how do you guys enter the property currently?
And then could you, the no development zone, or the oak mitigation map, if you could pull that up. Sorry, the oak mitigation map, it was included in the staff's presentation. And okay, so this right here, this is the 25-foot public right-of-way and public utility easement.
So we don't have him on a mic.
Mm.
Okay, I'll sit. Yeah, I'll sit.
Hello? Now it's working.
Okay. So the 25-foot right-of-way and public utility easement, this road goes all the way to Sigler Canyon Road, or Sigler Springs Road, which is off the screen here. The gate is somewhere in this area that's referenced here. But this is the deeded easement that you've seen in your packet, and it goes for here. And it's not just for these two parcels. There's also that easement continues over and provides access to this parcel over here. This parcel and this parcel belong to the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. This one. While this is a private parcel, well, they're all private, but this is a non-affiliated private parcel, and then this is the two project parcels. This is the easement.
So how do you access the property today?
Okay, this road continues off the screen here. We could pull up my presentation where I could show you. But that road continues to the east where it connects to Sigler Springs Road, North Sigler Springs Road. Or maybe just GIS would be in my presentation or something we can
Yeah, it's this
show you.
one here. So this is the Cedar Springs Road.
So you can access the property without going across the sanctuary property, is that correct?
This parcel right here is the sanctuary's parcel. You have to travel across this, but the easement is through there. There is a valid easement that grants access to this property from Sigler Springs Road through this parcel here, and this parcel belongs to the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary.
Okay, sorry, we closed public comment.
If I could get that slide, I think that would be very helpful I thought this would be a good one, but it's the one that shows the Mountain of Attention property.
We don't agree that it's a valid easement. Yes, there's an easement that was granted by someone who didn't own the property.
Who's that talking?
That was, I believe that was Robert Riggs.
It's a little unnerving. So we
Hi,
just say,
Robert.
okay?
The easement does say, if this is helpful at all to the commission while Ms. Claybon is pulling up that slide, is granted right-of-way and public utility easement 25 feet wide plus road cuts and fills. The easement is granted for the ingress and egress of logging trucks, wood products, equipment, other vehicular traffic, and the installation and maintenance of public utilities. And then it also talks about general access for ingress and egress. And that is included in attachment 7 to the staff report.
And then this is North Sigler Springs Road. This is where the road comes off, and so it travels through a portion of the Mountain Attention Sanctuary property here before getting onto the project property, but that's where the easement allows for this.
Is that the only entrance to the property?
Yes, ma'am.
And that is how the property has been accessed or is accessed today, even before this proposal or this project might or might not be approved?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, and then I also had a question about Sigler, because there were some comments made about, kind of driving on through the sanctuary, and I just wanted to verify and confirm that Sigler Springs Road, I guess it's north, that is a county-maintained road, right, that comes off of Loch Lomond? So, wait, I'm sorry, public comment is closed, but staff can help with this to perhaps show the map of, or show us where the Sigler Road goes and confirm that that is a county-maintained road.
Yeah, we're looking for the county maintained roads.
Okay. So is that the one access road, is that compliant with the fire department for fire vehicles?
This is an outdoor-only cultivation operation, so it doesn't have to move before you.
You're right, correct, thank you.
The easement will allow for improvements to that. It's a 25-foot wide easement.
Right.
Will allow for that, but.
Okay.
I do have a response for the county maintained road portion. So the, as Mary is showing it on the screen up there, is at Sigler Springs Road North. It is just under the highlighted green section. is county maintained from Loch Lomond Road to Red Hills Road.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, just a clarification, how many of the mature oak trees are going to be removed? I had a couple of figures, just to clarify exactly.
76.
76? Thank you. Comments, questions?
Yes, I have some, oh,
No, go ahead.
No, please, go ahead, because you always have good questions.
Oh, yeah, so I did have comments reading through that. Obviously, losing trees is always a big concern, and the revegetation, or, what's the correct word? The mitigation for removing those trees at, I believe it was a 3-to-1 ratio for that.
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
3 to 1.
And the trees that would be planted to replace those black oaks would be no less than 5 feet. I think it was under the.
I have this open right now.
So I guess the point of that is the effects on the environment for the removal of those trees. The majority being 10 inches, 10 to 6 inches. I think there was like around 10 of each. One large tree. So I mean, it's always good to whenever we can avoid the removal of oaks, especially oaks. For cannabis cultivation. It's good that we see that there is a plan to replace, but at the end of the day, when will those trees, how long is it going to take for them to come back to what they're being cut? Another question or concern that I had was regarding the driveway improvements, but I guess I think, Trey, you answered that. Since it's going to be outdoor, it's not required, but it's from Ziegler to the parcel, which is in part, it would only be improved if there was an easement, or if the easement question was cleared up. Is that correct?
From our perspective, there is no ambiguity around the easement. The easement is 25 feet wide. It allows for commercial uses. It allows for maintenance of the road surface and maintenance of drainage features and things of that nature. And so to that effect, yes, some minor improvements such as the application of gravel and then blading of the existing roadway surface, not grading or widening the road or anything like that, would occur to make it, in its current condition, it's not acceptable for CAL FIRE apparatus to drive up to this project site. So there will be some clearing of the brush, clearing of the trees that have fallen across the road, things of that nature that would improve access to the site. But we're not talking about widening the road or lengthening it, anything that would require a grading permit for those purposes.
But improvements would be needed to get to the site?
Yes, the trees fall across the road constantly, and then also the application of gravel in certain areas as well.
Thank you.
And if I may, Commissioner, the tree mitigation plan actually proposes planting acorns into saplings, and then doing that in accordance with the Regenerating Rangeland Oaks in California guidance.
Okay. Yeah, because I read both of those. It was acorns, and then I read somewhere else that it was no less than 5 feet.
I just wanted to add to that, there's a reason why they, when oak trees, they recommend doing acorns. It's because of the root system. I don't remember exactly why arborists explained this to me, but like something about oak tree saplings, if they're pot bound, they'll never actually grow out and establish themselves. And then I saw that they need to clear around each planted sapling. They need to clear 3 feet of vegetation and then protect it with some protect it from deer browsing and things of that nature, but I'm not seeing the 5 feet tall.
Yeah, I'll look for it, but it's, yeah, I was just curious because I did see that it was 2 different options for that. So, but if we're going with the acorns, and then if that's what you guys are going to be going with, then I just wanted to write that on my notes.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, Trey, I guess the question is, you know, are those going to be grown directly in the ground? Are they going to be grown in pots and reestablished on the site? Or is the oak tree mitigation going to be in one specific place, one specific site? Because the tree removal is going to come from areas within the project area. And so I'm just trying to understand how you're going to establish a healthy oak woodland again if those oaks are going to be all in the same location.
So it's going to be kind of, it's going to require some oversight by by the forester that prepared this. There are areas, as we discussed, there are areas where the trees were severely damaged by the valley fire, and therefore they're sick and dying. And so those are areas where we would plant them. There are other areas on the properties where the trees are healthy. That it was a mosaic burn there, so it's not high intensity in one area and lower intensity in other areas. But also the underbrush. This is where the goats come in. If you were to go put an oak tree sapling in the ground right now, it would just get drowned out by all the buckbrush and other brush that's growing back in. So it's going to be it's going to take 7 years to get this going, like to get the trees established where they don't have to be watered with 15 gallons of water every 2 weeks, per the plan. It's not something that it's not something I could say we're going to plant those 300 trees right here in this area. The arborist or the forester provided an area around the cultivation. Oh yeah, so there it. This is from the oak mitigation plan. So that is the area of the property where the trees will be planted. But I can't say right now until we actually get out there on the ground, inspect the trees, see the ones that aren't going to be affected by this development, where they're going, where the healthy ones are, where the unhealthy ones are, exactly what. But they will all be planted in this general area.
Okay, so the 76 identified, to my understanding, are healthy trees.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about removal of unhealthy trees as well, on top of the 76 healthy trees.
We would not be removing the unhealthy trees, but that is around the unhealthy trees, or it would be a acceptable location for the planting of the saplings.
Okay. Thank you.
I have questions. So one of the questions is, in the 2023 plan, it was planned for 4 acres of cultivation and a grow season that was described as April to October, 180 days. And then it's now changed to 3 acres, and the grow season has been reduced. This is a question for you, Trey, but has been reduced to June through October, 150 days. And I was just looking for some sort of explanation of that change, why there's a change in the grow season just because there's a change from 3 to 4 or 4 to 3 acres.
Well, we're just going to be so like I said, the original application, they were going to grade like 25,000 cubic yards, make a flat pad, build hoop houses on top of that, and they would get started earlier and go later as a result. But the current application is just like tractor rows, building the soil, tractor rows, planting in the soil. And when you are growing, and it would be more exposed to the elements such as wind and things like that. So this is a conversation we always have with Commissioner Field here, is like, talking about like the amount of water a single plant uses, is like you're going to have a higher number of plants. They're not going to use more water. It's going to have a higher number of plants because you want those plants to remain smaller. If you plant it earlier and you can't protect it from the elements, it's going to get blown around by wind and things like that. So you want a smaller, more compact plant that takes less effort to protect and maintain.
Okay.
And so you plant later
So
to have a smaller. If you planted in April or beginning of May, then the plant would be much bigger than if you waited until June, mid-June to plant.
Makes sense. So it's
Commissioner Rosenthal, we're coming up to a hard stop here for the staff for lunch.
Okay.
So can we put a timeout on your next questions? And we will then come back at 1:30 to resume our conversation here on this particular topic. So, thank you.
Okay, so are we stopping now, then?
We're stopping now.
Okay.